Howdy, everyone. I wanted to give you a good look at how to work on the Microsoft Access assignments that we've got within the MGIS course and wanted to kind of give you a walkthrough. If you are using a Mac, you're going to want to use remote.shsu.edu in order to log in to Microsoft Access. If you're unfamiliar with that process, please watch the first Excel video because it'll kind of show you what the process is to do that. But starting with Microsoft Access, we're going to make a new database called Dora's Delightful Doggy Daycare. And in order to do that, we'll start up with opening Microsoft Access and look at what we're doing for both parts of the assignment. For the first part, we're just going to make two tables. The first table is going to be doggy owners, and it's got data like who the owner is. And the second table is going to have doggy information, which is going to include information about their actual dog. Now, keep in mind that one person might have more than one dog. So we keep those as separate tables because we want to ultimately be able to establish a link that says this particular individual happens to own, this many dogs or whatever. So to start off with, we're going to open up our Microsoft Access. We're going to want a blank database. And I don't care what version of Microsoft Access that you use. So if whichever one works for you or whichever one you find the easiest to use, that's completely fine. If yours doesn't look the exact same as mine, don't worry. That's not a problem at all. The version I'm using is Microsoft Access 2010, but there's 2013, 16, 15, all that different kind of things. You'll notice the ribbon menus here up top. Those are going to be how you go through and navigate things. By default, it opened up and created a new table for me. But if I don't know exactly where I want to get started, I'm just going to close all that. I'm going to say I want to create a table. All right, and it's now created that table for me. And what I can do is I can right-click on this table right here, and I can look at the design view of the table. And it's going to want me to save the table. I'm going to call this Doggy Owner Table. All right. So here's my doggy owner table, and what it's doing is it pulls up a couple different things. Let's see what fields I actually want. I want something I'm going to call doggy ID, and then I want first name, last name, address, city, state, zip, phone, and email. Okay. So this ID right here, I like that because it already put one in, but I'm going to call it doggy ID. I'm going to leave it as auto number. One of the things you'll notice is it has a little key right here. That's because it's establishing this as a primary key, meaning that I can't have, more than one particular, like if this is number one, I can only have one number one. So I'm going to call this actually doggy owner ID, okay? And then I want last name. And notice I'm not putting spaces in here. Whenever you're working with databases or saving files or things of that nature, it's always a good idea to try and avoid spaces as much as possible. I realize it's, like later in the, getting towards the 21st century, but systems don't tend to react to that particularly well. So then address, city, state, zip, phone, email. All right, and did I get everything I wanted and the doggy ID? Okay, so now let's go and look at what we've got. Obviously, we want text to be here. One of the things we have the option of messing with down here is field size. I would go ahead and say, nobody really has a last name longer than, say, 40 letters. And same thing on first name. We're going to change that. We don't need 255. We're going to make that be 40. Address might be a little longer. Maybe we'll put 50 there. City, can't think of anywhere that's probably longer than 40. State. Now, state needs to be just 2, right? Because our state addresses are going to be not that long. Now, when I'm looking at, something like zip code, there are different ways that you can actually format things that will, I want to type in the values that I want, and, you could put in something like this, and you could let it pick, people could have a pick down list, which we're not really interested necessarily in that. But what we are interested in is we want the zip code to be a number, And then what kind of format do we want that number to look like? We can say a general number. We can say, fixed, standard, whatever. We'll go with just a general number because we don't need it to be scientific. Decimal places, there aren't any decimal places in a zip code, so it gets 0. All right. And then input mask right here. What input masks will do is they allow you to set some rules on what it is you're looking for. So, for example, if I'm looking for a particular input mask and I wanted something like a zip code, it's already got that built in. Now, I did have to change the type back to text in order to do that, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. The nice thing about doing numbers as a field is it helps you with some sorting stuff. But if I wanted a zip code in this format, all I have to do is say next, and then what do you want it to look like? And then it'll give you the option to try it down here. So 773410001, like for example, Sam's zip code. Then I can just say next, and then do you want it with the symbols or do you want it without? We're going to store it basically with the symbols. We can pick it either way. And then boom, we've now created the zip code format field. Phone number, if you notice when I hit that, there's another input mask right here that we can use for a phone number. Okay, so I put in the phone number. You can try it. How do you want it stored? We're going to store it without the symbols on this one. So phone number and then email. Similarly, there is a opportunity to, I don't know that I have it installed. You can install an email filter on here. But so it makes sure that it's, this@whatever.com. But we're just going to leave that as text right now, and we'll make that field be 50. So right there, I've created my very first database table, and if I want, I can go and save it by hitting the File tab. I've now saved my first table. What do I need to do? I need to make another table. My second table is not going to be about I need to right-click and say Design View, and this is going to be doggies. I'll just make it be doggies. What did I want y'all to call it? Make a second table, doggy information. All right, so doggy information. There we go. And now I've got doggy information. So what I'm going to put up here is doggy owner ID. And those should match up, right? So I could have one owner that's got multiple dogs. And then doggy name, doggy gender, and doggy breed. So doggy name, doggy gender, doggy breed. Now, if I wanted to, I could get very fancy and set up things where I could have a pick down list on breed and gender. I'm not really going to necessarily require you guys to do that, so we're not going to worry about that. But, if I wanted to do something like a lookup wizard, now if I do that, I could say M or F, right? I could have just those two choices because doggy gender is only going to be M or F. So I can say next, I can call that, and I can say limit to the list, and then we don't store multiple values because you're either male or female as a doggy, and so we do that, and there, I've created my second table. So in doing that, I've actually accomplished the objectives of part A. And then next up, what I'm going to do, I'm going to save my table right here. I need to create a neat looking data entry thing for each one of these, right? For one of the tables. I'm just going to start off with one of the tables. Well, Microsoft Access has a bunch of different things you can do with it. You can mess with tables, which is where your data is stored. You can mess with queries, which help put tables together so I can go and find results. You can mess with forms, which we're going to do right now because we're going to create a new form. And we're going to say we're going to create that using a form wizard. Okay? So what tables do I want on my form? Let's make a form, first of all, for doggy owners. Okay? And then I want all these on my form. Then I can say next. And then how do I want my form to look like? Well, I want my form to be columnar, meaning one form per page. And then what am I going to call it? I'm going to call it form doggy owners. And then let's modify the form's design when we're done. So it's now created it. Not really terribly fond of this color. So what we're going to do right here, I can change the font color, change it to, I don't know, black. And then changing the background, I can change the fill back color. Let's make it as close to Sam Orange as it natively does. These would be easier to read as black. So let's make them be black. And I can do that by hitting this. And then I can hit the background color right here. And I could make it be like that. I don't really need my zip code field probably to be that big. So let's make it be smaller. Same with the phone number. And all I'm doing right here is dragging and dropping. And me being a perfectionist, I do want to have it be like the exact same length. All right. Okay. And then what I can do is I can just save my form right up here by using the little save button or go over to File. So now I can close my form. I can right click on this and say close. Right click on this and say close. Right click on this and say close. Instead of looking in forms, I can say, you know what? Show me everything that I've been creating. So there we go. I can look at my doggy owner's form, and then I can hit tab and I can start typing stuff in. Oops. 881-0122, phone 936-555-1212, email 3310@trez.email. And then all I have to do to advance to a new record is just hit enter. If I use the record navigation down here, you can see the data's in there. So I have now successfully created my first form. That's what I needed to do here. And then all I would need to do to complete the first part of the assignment is to simply put in 5 different data points. And then if you want to check your data points, what you can go over here is go up to doggy owners and look, I now have a thing in here that shows. And if I have 5 records in here, I've completed what it is I need to do. So let's look at the second part of the assignment, which is coming live, and talk about what we're trying to do here. So I've got one doggy owner. I can go down here and also put in doggy information. All right. So what I'm actually going to want to do with the doggy owners right here is I'm going to want, or doggy information rather, I'm going to want to go right here and I'm going to want to change this so this is not a primary key. And the main reason is because I might have multiple dogs that have the same owner. And so this is not an auto number, this is a number right here. And what I can do is I can know that, for example, I am number 1. So if I were to make another form real quick, well, it made a form very, very quickly of doggy owners. I don't actually want that. I don't want to save it either. So I'm going to say no. If I go up here to create using the form wizard, and I go to doggy information, and I put all these things over here, and say finish, I need to close the table though, because if I've got the table open for doggy information, it won't let me edit the form. All right, so doggy owner ID, let me actually, since I've, let me go and recreate the form using the form wizard. We're going to make doggy owners and doggy information, pull everybody over, just say finish. Here we go. If I put in doggy owner ID, now it knows that, and see, here's my pick down list that I did, doggy breed, healer, and then I could put in doggy owner ID 1, and I could say doggy name is Meow Mix, doggy gender is female, and notice I put in a little F, but it corrected it for me, because it can only be the things. And we've got 2 healers in my house. They're blues, and they're beautiful. So then I can just hit down here, and so when I go and look, I now have 2 dogs, all right? What I wanted you to do was I wanted you to look here and create a relationship between these 2 things, because when I look at and I add both these tables in, what you see is doggy owners is linked to doggy owner ID here. And what I can say is that these are, I only want you to include rows where the joint fields from both tables are equal. So yes, so I do that. And what that does is it basically creates, I got to go close, my forms. All right, do this. So now what you can see I've done here is I've established a one to infinite or one to many relationship between myself as a doggy owner and how many doggies I could have. I don't have infinite doggies. I only have two. I save that relationship right there. And what that does is it allows me to pull up and create reports where I could say, show me for this particular client all the animals it is that they have. And that's what I was looking for in you creating a primary relationship. So now we're looking at making a report. So I can go over here and just like they had a form wizard, they have a report wizard. So what I want is I want a report of doggy owners, okay? And I don't say you have to create a query, do you? No. Link that has both the owner and the breed gender information. All right, so the first report I want you to make is just going to have doggy owners sorted by zip code, okay? So I would put everything here, and then do you want to add any grouping levels? Why, yes, I do. I want to make zip code be the priority, okay? And so when I look at this, what it does is it shows me this zip code and then this particular thing. Now, I could make it be landscape and I would get more of the data. I could go in and modify it, whatever. But this basically is my doggy owner report, and that does more or less what I want it to do. Please try and make yours a bit more pretty than that. And then that pretty much is what I'm looking for on that one. The last thing I'm asking you to do is a data entry form where doggy ID is linked that has both the owner and the breed gender information. So we're making a new form, okay? And what we're going to do is that we're going to make another new data source. We're going to make a query. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a simple query. And what our simple query is going to do is I'm going to put all this in here. And then I'm going to put these guys in here. And then I want detail here. And then I'm going to look at the design of it real quick. Okay. So I can see I've got doggy owner name, last name, first name, address, city, state, zip, phone, email, doggy name, doggy gender, doggy breed. What happens when I run that query? Well, look at that. It shows my doggy owner ID, and then it knows to link me to my two dogs. All right. So I can save this query now. Doggy owner's query is what it saved it as. And I can go over here and create a new form. And what I do is I use the doggy owner's query that I created for my form. I can simply hit finish, and there we go. Now, if you notice, what it's done is it looks like there's a table inside of a table. So were I to go over here to the next record, I could put in Smith, James, all right, and I could then go and put multiple doggies in here. Doggy name is hello, doggy gender is male, doggy breed is happy. Then I could hit this, and I could add more doggies. And obviously, you can go through and change by looking at the form design. You could go through in here and go to design view and make this a little more user-friendly in the sense that I wouldn't have to scroll over and all that. So yeah, I mean, you can do all kinds of things to change sizes, adjust things around. You can put things, oops, didn't mean to do that. You can move things. You can look at the subform view. So lots of opportunities you have here. And what you've done at the end of the day is we've created a system that a little vet's office could use if for nothing else than to just track who's got what. So everything in Microsoft Access saves automatically, but if you'll hit save at the end, that's what you're looking for. And that basically covers both parts of the assignment. Good luck. Please let me know if you have any questions, and have a wonderful time.